Many K-pop groups have debuted with strong lineups, but other factors failing to impress led them to not reaching the full potential of their talents. This has caused a lot of distress for many fandoms, but few were as distraught by it as fans of Girls' Planet 999's debut group Kep1er. Living up to the success of their proto-seniors was never going to be easy, but certainly no one was expecting it to be this hard coming off of an Mnet survival show. I already did a video on why Kep1er wound up like this, but this time I want to talk about what I would have done to avoid this fate, starting from scratch. As you may know from my previous video, it was clear something was about to go very wrong when the name of the group was announced. Although we've had our share of questionable group names throughout the years in K-pop, the disappointment at the announcement of Kep1er was one that can't quite be explained. Not only did it feel clunky, the one felt like it was completely out of place for a show that was so strongly branded with nines, and it felt far too masculine for a girl group, coming from a male astronomer. So I would start by renaming them. I have two versions of the name I chose. Both draw their inspiration from the Greek god of the sun, Helios, due to Kep1er's official claim to the galaxy being the sun. The first option I would suggest is Helia, which is just the feminine form of the name. The meaning is as simple as it gets, just meaning sun. This suggestion is based on Mnet's theme of ones, but my preferred suggestion is Helix, which uses the last two letters of IX to represent 9 in Roman numerals. Although inspired by Helios, the name itself means twisted or curved and can be found referring to the double helix structure of DNA, for example. It is also believed that our solar system moves through space in a helical structure, adding to the galaxy tie-in. I know nobody asked, but if you're wondering what the fans would be called in this scenario, I think Sunflower/Hebaragi would be such a cute fandom name for them. Now, again referencing my previous video, another gripe I have with the group is that they could have done lore but chose not to. Reiterating for those who didn't see that video, they had the perfect setup building off of Girls' Planet and a great opportunity with a 2-year contract to pull it off. So in my world, Helix have a lore. I would love to let it build up throughout the video, but I don't want to do that to myself because that would mean a 3-hour video with so many copyright claims. In short, the lore splits them up into 3 units that live on different planets. The goal of the lore is that they reunite and retrieve their memories via their dreams. In the final music video, they achieve this, but I'll elaborate on this as we go. So the 3 units thing. If you can't tell, I'm an orbit. I love symbolism and representative things. IZ*ONE had representative colors, but I love having multiple representative things. It makes them so much more meaningful when spotted, especially together. It allows for more opportunities for reference. To make things easier, I'm going to list them all now. I also want to say I don't think Kep1er are a group that can pull off the no positions thing, so I'm giving them positions too. Yujin becomes our leader, vocalist, and sub-rapper, meaning if there's a need for more voices in rap lines, she can handle them. Her representative color is a shade of fuchsia called Orchid, her animal is an otter, and her element is water. Why am I adding elements? Because alien concepts need them. I am also an XOL. But in all seriousness, I don't mean it as in her power, I mean it as in a visual association. Shouting fulfills the role of main dancer, face of the group, vocalist, and sub-rapper in the same way as Yujin. Shouting is a very elegant idol, so I associate her with elegant things such as the color aqua, gazelles, and frost. Mashiro is our lead vocalist, lead dancer, and co-leader, if it ain't broke and all that. She's a very stable vocalist and a strong dancer, so I like to think she can shine in both roles, unlike currently. She has a shade of deep blue called Sapphire, her animal is a red panda, and her element is earth because she feels like such a strong character to me. Chaehyun is obviously the main vocalist, she doesn't need another role. Her color to me is a shade of light pink called Bubblegum, animal is a chipmunk, and her element is air because I associate her voice with a light airiness. Daeyeon is where I get a tiny bit controversial, but not due to any ill will towards her, just my opinion of her strengths. To me, she is a stronger vocalist, but not strong enough to be lead, but she's definitely good enough to be a lead dancer and lead rapper. Why not main, I hear you asking, and simply put, I think most other lineups she could easily be main, just not this one. To me, her color is forest green, and her animal is a coyote, while her element is fire. Hikaru is, in my opinion, the main rapper, main dancer, and center of the group in performances. She has a strength as a performer that is displayed so perfectly in the XG girls that she trained with. The color I associate with her is black, animal is a crow, and the element is metal. For Bahi, I think she has definitely grown a lot since debuting with Kep1er, but based on her skills at debut, I'm putting her down as a vocalist and lead dancer. I think she and Hikaru contrast each other very nicely because the color I associate with her is white, animal is an owlfinch, and element is energy. Youngin flew under the radar for me until Queendom, but I think she's definitely a main vocalist, lead dancer, and another center for the group. She's very good at commanding the stage, and her performance sense is amazing. I can't believe Mnet let her hide her vocals throughout Girls Planet until the creation mission. Something about her is very bright, so her color to me is a yellow shade called Sunshine. Animal is a panther because she's deceptively powerful, and her element is light. And finally, the youngest Yeso is our lead vocalist and lead dancer, but she's another face of the group because I think she's very recognizable, and as the most experienced idol and actress, I think she could be utilized so much better for promotion. To me, her color is a shade of lilac called Iris, her animal is a mouse, and her element is time. Fitting for her being the youngest and most experienced. Having run through all of that, obviously they would have a strong presence in Japan. I planned their releases so they have 3 full albums and 4 mini albums in Korean, and then 2 mini albums, 1 full album, and 1 anthology album in Japanese. I also love it when groups have an album naming theme, so I want them to have that too. Their Korean albums are all called First Something because honestly First Impact is a slayful album name for a group with a space concept. The Japanese albums are all called For the Something because I have a concept in mind. I also have a sound in mind. I've already said I think they shine the most in retro synth pop and house tracks, and that's what I think most of their titles and promoted songs should lean into, but their B-sides can have various genres. One thing I want, however, is for their sound to be defined by Chaehyun and Yeso's unique vocals. Meaning many signature parts of the song, such as choruses, pre-choruses, or bridges, will highlight them, depending on how the song is structured. Basically, I want people to hear them and immediately know, yep, this is Helix. So, on January 3rd, 2022, Helix make their debut with First Impact, much like Kep1er did, and so the clock starts ticking. The album begins with Chungha's side B, Savage, as the intro, and is led by title track Alien, originally by Lee Soo-hyun. This is followed by the promotional single Mask, originally by Kep1er, because their actual debut did something right. This is then followed by the lore-defining Signal, originally by FX. In my head, I imagine it gets a few special performances, such as at their debut showcase. This is followed by Universe, originally by Luna, because I believe in having a slow/calm/ballad song on every track list, and Universe is magically cosmic. Then we have the 2 bonus tracks of Another Dream and OOO Helix version, meaning the line distribution doesn't suck. The lore theme for this album is the first signal sent between the planets. On Planet 1 we have the first unit, Cygnus, featuring Shouting, Yujin, and Mashiro. Then we see the very different Planet 2, which has the second unit, Apis, featuring Daeon, Yeso, and Chaehyun. Finally, we reveal Planet 3, which has the Vulpecula unit, made up of Hikaru, Youngin, and Bahi. All the units are named after constellations, Cygnus being the swan, Apis being the bird of paradise, and Vulpecula being the fox. I'm also a very big believer in albums having intros, so after skipping Queendom and letting Stacy or similar take Kep1er's place, we got our second mini album, First Dream, on May 20th, 2022. Opening the album is the intro Weekly Day by Weekly, showing that this will be the Bright Summer album replacing Doublast, although I very much enjoy that album. The title track would be a summer hit like Oh My Girls Nonstop. Following that up with something like Supermoon by Uju Sonyo. Then So What by Stacy. After that, I would put Galaxy by Taeyeon, because again, I believe in slow song rights. Finishing off the album would be First Dream by Wekimeki, which was added after I decided the name of the album. And then the promoted B-side, A Sign Anonymous by Billy. The lore going forward will be less developed compared to the first album, but essentially this music video is supposed to be like a summer dream. The intro shows them or one of them dozing off to sleep and then waking up in a dream that's more like a memory. There will be hints throughout that this isn't exactly accurate, but mostly it's a good excuse to work on symbolism and making a pretty video for the summer. On June 3rd, they hold the first Seoul date of their first tour called First Contact. On the 4th is the second date, then a week later on the 10th and 11th they have 2 dates in Tokyo, followed by one in Osaka on the 15th. On the 18th they go to Manila in the Philippines, then Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia on the 22nd. The 25th is the last June date in Bangkok, Thailand, and the final international stop is Hong Kong on July 8th. They go back to Seoul for their final concert of the tour called First Contact Return on the 16th. Cutting into my own video while getting over a cold, so sorry. I just wanted to clarify that this video is not inspired or influenced by Everglow Up's video on the same topic. I've been planning this video since around the time of Doublast's release and a restructuring of Girls Planet since like 3 weeks after the show ended. I just wanted to get this out there because I know I'm really slow at editing, so although I started recording this a few days after my last video went live, I have no idea when I can actually upload this. Okay, back to the video. On September 9th, they have their first full album, First Light. Now that we know they can sell really well, it's time to capitalize. Opening the album is Rocket Punch's Blue Punch intro for that late summer, early autumn feeling. The title track takes a small note from the Eyes One book in aesthetics with Dazzle Dazzle by Kep1er. Following that is Yalla by Ujuseonyo. Then we have Push and Pull by Twice's Jihyo, Sana, and Dahyun. Another Twice track and this album's promoted B-side in Oxygen. Then Stacy's Like This. Taking a slight darker turn with Billy's Moon Palace. Then Luna's Curiosity follows. After that we get Bloom True Light, originally by GWSN. The album is then rounded out by Kep1er's Sweet Dreams. And closes with Ujuseonyo's Cantabile. This time the music video is more dance focused than story focused, but I like the idea of using photo development as a backdrop. Since it's a full album, it would have a big teaser production where I think they could do more character exploration using their colors and assigned elements. For example, a shot of Yeso with sand falling around her, cutting to her in a garden where flowers are blooming around her, then back to the sand to reveal her in a giant hourglass. In my head, all the teasers end on the logo with a camera shutter sound over it. Another example would be Dahyun crouching down in a lush forest, then cutting to her in a desert with CGI coyotes circling her, then back to her holding a burning leaf, dropping it, and suddenly being surrounded by flames. Then I would have them do a self-filmed music video to Oxygen where they also take Polaroids of each other, kinda like Heejin and Hyunjin in My Sunday, but the Polaroids can be found in random copies of the albums. To support this, they start their second Asia tour of the year, keeping in mind these are not huge venues they're going to. On October 7th, their second tour, 1-2 Over, starts in Seoul, then continues in Busan on the 9th. KCON Japan is a week later on the 16th, and the tour continues in Taipei on the 21st. On the 23rd, they jump over to Hong Kong and rest a bit until going back to Bangkok on the 28th. November 4th, they make their way to Kuala Lumpur, and a week later on the 11th, they go to Hanoi, Vietnam. They won't rest for long, as on November 15th, they release their first Japanese pre-release with Red Velvet's Sunny Afternoon, along with the Japanese version of Alien as a B-side. As they would have prepared some pre-recorded content for this pre-release, they can continue to Brunei on the 18th. A week later finds them in Manila on the 26th and finishing off the tour on December 2nd in Macau. This is followed 2 weeks later on December 16th with their official Japanese debut For the Day. Heading up the album is Laboom's Shooting Star intro, followed by wintry title track Wonderland, originally by Gugudan, and originally a summer release. Then Wekimeki's Color Me, and the previously released Sunny Afternoon after that. Alien, Nonstop, and Dazzle Dazzle Japanese versions close off the mini. The Japanese releases will have little to no lore and be more like side stories related to the album title, so I don't have any specific lore for this one. There's no plans until March 9th when they come back with their third mini album, First Flight. The album opens with Bandits Be Ambitious intro, and I chose Stacy's Stereotype as the title track. It's almost spring, we can do something a bit softer. This is then followed by Everglow's Don't Speak, and Yukika's Secret marks the tonal shift of the album. Promise 9's Escape Room is this album's promotional B-side. And All Day Long by Dreamcatcher complements it nicely. Say Something by Twice closes the album off on a somewhat melancholic note. As the album title implies, this time the lore has something to do with flying. I'm seeing teasers that heavily feature paper planes and an album cover focused on one. Similarly, the teaser would show them in a school-like setting, and one of them gets hit in the head by a paper plane that unfolds into a poster for the Daydreamers Club. The teaser shows all of them one by one making their way to the club room and disappearing behind the door. In my head, Yeso is the last member to enter, and she gives the camera a little knowing smile before closing the door. In the music video, we see that behind the door is a completely different world. On May 22nd, they have another Japanese pre-release with Pretty, originally by i-dle, and the Japanese version of First Dream as the B-side. June 19th, they have their proper Japanese comeback with For the Sky. Welcome to the Loveliest 8 is their intro this time. While Hot and Cold 2021 version by Arias is their title track. Then Pretty is followed by Dear Rose by Oh My Girl, and then Miss Ping Pong by GWSN closes off the original songs. Stereotype Japanese version precedes the real closer, First Dream. This release is supported by fan meetings in Tokyo on the 23rd, Osaka on the 25th, and Fukuoka on the 29th, called Helix Calling, Insert City. Their second full album makes itself known on July 7th. Opening with Luna's midnight intro, the album First Journey promises an interstellar trip. The title track would be along the lines of GWSN's Like It Hot. Wekimeki's Iron Boy, performed by the Volpecula unit, is the next track. I call you Iron Boy. Followed by Don't Ask, Don't Tell by Everglow, which is the promotional B-side. Cheese by Promise 9 follows that. Then we get Uju Sonyo's Our Garden. After that is I by i-dle, which I originally thought was called Hush. i-dle's Just is both the next track and the Cygnus unit track. Back to Space for Dreamcatcher's Starlight. And Twice's SOS is the next track. Followed by Day 6 with Like That Sun, our first and only male act. Bittersweet by Dreamnote is Apis' track. Into Uju Sonyo's Star. Closing the album is another Dreamnote track, Blue. This is another release where the music video itself has less lore than the teasers, but I'm thinking of a concept similar to EXO's Don't Fight the Feeling, where they're clearly traveling through space in a futuristic looking spaceship. The teasers are both individual and unit teasers where the members of each unit get the same type of planet as their background. On top of that, each of the girls and units have a video teaser with an assigned song. The units would get their own songs while each of the girls get one B-side. Yeso is Don't Ask, Don't Tell, Yujin is Cheese, Chaehyun is Our Garden, Daeyeon is Ayaya, Hikaru is Starlight, Shouting is SOS, Youngin is Like That Sun, Bahi is Star, Mashiro is Blue. To support this album is their most ambitious project yet, a world tour. The Outerspatial Tour starts with 2 dates in Seoul on the 28th and 29th of July. August 4th and 5th, they perform in Sydney and Perth, Australia, respectively. On the 10th, they make their way to Jakarta, Indonesia, before leaving for a Manila, Philippines show on the 13th. The 16th then brings them to Singapore for a quick stop before Kuala Lumpur on the 18th. On the 20th, they can be found in Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh. Almost a week later, they make their way to Bangkok for a show on the 25th. The last August show is in Hong Kong on the 27th. The 1st of September takes them not too far as they go to Taipei. The 9th and 10th are this tour's 2 Tokyo stops where they premiere their next Japanese release. On the 11th, they release their 3rd Japanese pre-release, the Japanese version of Like It Hot. Stars Over Me by Ball 4 is the pre-release B-side and an original Japanese song. They can't dwell on that for too long though, as on the 16th they have a show in Seattle, their first solo concert in the US. A week later, on the 22nd, they find themselves in Denver, Colorado. The 24th brings them to the Windy City, Chicago. They cross the border into Toronto for the 28th. Back in the US, and on the 1st of October, they found themselves in New York City. Might be New Jersey or Albany though. They start making their way back to the West Coast with a stop in Atlanta on the 6th. Not going too far, on the 8th they have a stop in Dallas, Texas. Crossing the border once more, they have about 4 days to get used to the altitude in Mexico City before their concert on the 13th. Their final stop in the US is back in California for an LA show on the 15th. The 16th of October brings with it their first full Japanese album, For the Nine. Opening the album is Yukika's Leap Forward intro. Uju Sonyo's La La Love is the album's title track. And Dreamcatcher's Witch of Star follows that. The 4th track is No Big Deal by Alice. And What's in Your House by i-dle slows things down after that. See the Stars by Red Velvet continues the calmer mood. Into the city pop smash hit Cherry's Jubals by Yukika. Rocket Punch's Lilac brings the energy back up. into the indie pop hit Stars Over Me by Bull 4. Kep1er make another appearance as the final original track, Sweet Winter.
In my lifetime, 찾고 있어. 너를 쫓아 go go go.
The album closes with the Japanese versions of Like It Hot and Hot and Cold. They take a Japanese detour again called Outerspatial Japan to properly promote their first full album, and that Thursday and Friday on October 19th and 20th they hold a 2-day concert in Tokyo. The 22nd finds them in Nagoya, and on the 26th they made it to Osaka. Closing the detour is a 2-day concert in Fukuoka on the 28th and 29th. They make it back to Seoul to close the tour with Outerspatial Seoul on November 17th and 18th. After that, their schedule is empty until early January, giving them a chance to rest a bit after their long world tour. Perhaps even spending the holidays with their families, especially the foreign members. Though I imagine they would also seize the opportunity to participate in various holiday specials, especially on Mnet. December 29th marks their first ever Korean pre-release with Jigu's Moonlight, supported by a music show appearance on M Countdown as a special stage for New Year's. Personally seeing a stage in Hanbok similar to Luna's PTT stage on Queendom, and a choreo-focused music video. However, on January 12th, 2024, they begin their final months of promotions as a group with the first day mini album. Uju Sonyo's Space Cowgirl opens the album, while Everglow's La Di Da serves as the title track. Moonlight follows that, serving also as the album's promotional B-side. Billy's Flipping a Coin continues the dark atmosphere, while pivoting more into the house genre just in time for Kep1er's metronome. Pixie's Insomnia changes things up for a second, before Dreamcatcher's Daybreak, this album's actual slowdown song. The album ends with Chungha's Bother Me, giving it a slight feeling of there being more to come. This is their obligatory dark concept era, so I'm thinking it's a bit of a through the looking glass concept. The main photo teasers would have them posing with mirrors, with a similar styling to For the Nine, while the darker styling is in the mirror. The next concept is the exact opposite side. Music video intro picks up where Stereotype left off, and they one by one fall into mirrors while Yeso willingly jumps in. If you can't tell yet, I'm making Yeso a standout character in the lore because of her association with time. I'll get back to that. Anyways, this other side leads them to the ruins of a once futuristic city where they're confronted with elements from their previous music videos. The music video ends with their spaceship from Crush flying overhead and past them, and all of them look intrigued, but Yeso looks worried. February 2nd and 3rd, they have another Asia tour starting with 2 dates in Seoul called Transmission Start. On the 9th, they go to Manila, and on the 11th, they made it to Jakarta. Next up is Singapore on the 17th, then Hanoi on the 23rd. Bangkok follows on the 25th, then Hong Kong on the 1st of March. On the 9th, they find themselves in Taipei, and on the 15th, they made their way to Fukuoka. Then is the 17th, where they're in Osaka once again, and on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, they have a 3-day stint in Tokyo. Back to Seoul they go on the 13th and 14th of April for the finale concerts, Transmission Stop. And that's just in time for them to promote their third full-length album, First Bloom, released on April 12th. The album opens with Purple Beck's Starry Night, before exploding into the title track, The Summary, Ready or Not, originally by Momoland. That's then followed by the album's promotional B-side, Puzzle Moon by GWSN. The Cygnus unit then gets another track with Red Velvet's Look. The Vulpecula unit get ready with Pixie's Greedy. Then we get IZ*ONE's Highlight. Followed by Uju Sonyo's Full Moon. The Apis unit comes in swinging with After the Bloom Alone by GWSN. before Yena's Pretty Boys. Everglow's Moon brings back the deep house. After which the vibe takes a sharp dark turn into Dreamcatcher's Red Sun. Before IZ*ONE's Da Da Dance continues the house genre reappearance. The album then ends on the positive note that is Rocket Punch's Twinkle Star. This time the music video is heavily influenced by a dizzying Alice in Wonderland type casino where the staff all have animal heads and the other patrons wear masks. Think kind of like the casino scene from the first Percy Jackson movie. At the end of the first chorus, they somehow make it outside to find themselves in the same ruined city, but this time it's been covered in plants. As they keep running, they find the spaceship, crashed, covered in vines. They explore through it and Chaehyun accidentally turns it on. A modem turns on in the middle where they see a hologram with scenes from past music videos, and just as the second chorus kicks in, Yeso trips over a big wire that disconnects it. The others help her up, and suddenly Hikaru sends the spaceship flying off into space. During the bridge, Yeso is caught in a reflective surface and we see her reflection move independently of her. The music video ends with them shooting off into space at the speed of light before the camera drops back down to Earth where Yeso shoots awake in her bed. This time there's no pre-release before their Japanese anthology album For the Memories on May 6th. It opens with an intro like Luna Y's Dal Segno. Then Ball 4's Dancing Cartoon serves as the title track.
Oh, I just want you tonight. And I just want...
Following that is La La Love, Dear Rose, and No Big Deal from For the Nine, For the Sky, and For the Nine Again, respectively. Twice's After Moon is the second original song on this album. For Lilac, Color Me, and What's in Your House from 9, For the Sky, and 9 Again. The album closes with the last original track, Rocket Punch's Paper Star. Because it's a reflective album, the music video shows them at a theater watching back on moments with Japanese fans. On the 10th and 11th, they hold a 2-day fan meeting in Tokyo called Our Signal. On May 30th, they release Gwangali by Rainbow Note with a self-filmed music video shot during one of their YouTube reality shows where they travel to the beach. Yes, I'm also assuming they do YouTube content, but this video would be 12 hours if I detailed everything. June 9th, they hold a fan meeting in Seoul called Meet Me at Sunset. On June 14th, they release their final mini-album First Goodbye. Opening the album is Lovelyz' Heal. Dangwangali. After that is UA's Catch the Stars as the title track. The album continues with Rocket Punch's Red Balloon. Before the vibe turns melancholic with Stacy's I'll Be There. SNSD Sunflower is the obligatory fan-dedicated song. And Memories of Summer Rain by Weekly is the song fans tell themselves they wouldn't cry over but end up doing anyways. The album ends with Daya's 5 More Minutes, which is also the song they end up releasing a special fan-dedicated music video of their concerts and events to. Then the bonus track is Stacy's Slow Down, officially reminding fans to take things slow and enjoy the moment, unofficially asking for time to slow down so they don't have to disband. I'll be honest, I want people to be sobbing broken messes listening to this disbandment album. The music video picks up in the spaceship and they manage to fix the broken hologram. When they touch the clips, they start dancing and singing to the song in that location in the same styling, until they begin picking emotional moments in music videos, hugging or shared moments, and we see them all wake up in their own beds one by one and leave their houses. By the bridge, they've made it to the beach at night where Yeso is waiting by a fire and we see them all hug. Then they start playing around with sparklers and having fun during the last chorus. The music video outro shows them all sitting together in the line, leaning on each other while they watch the sunrise with the sunflower instrumentals while the credits roll. At the end of the video, there's a simple helix and sunflowers until we meet again in another dream on the middle of the screen. And that is how Helix ends. It would be really embarrassing for me if their companies decide to extend their contract past the original dates. Anyways, that's how I would have managed Kep1er beginning to end. Let's hope Wake 1 wakes up and makes the most of Kep1er's final year of activity.